Well, our next guest is an artist. He's literally incredible. He's somebody who I've had the pleasure of working alongside, of meeting and getting to know more and more as we dive deeper and deeper into this mastermind, deeper and deeper into our connection. And I've learned a lot from, even in terms of what he brings forward in terms of choosing love. So without further ado, I'd love to bring up Adam Roa to talk about unlocking your inner artist and some of the messages he has to bring to the table. Give it up.
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to follow that at all. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do the opposite of that. How's everyone doing? Good. My name is Adam Roa. I have a YouTube show called The Art of Choosing Love. And that show, I want to start by just seeing a show of hands. How many people consider themselves an artist? Dope. So at Envision, I would expect that. I think that was more, I'm going to say more than half. Half of you raise your hands, half of you don't want to participate. And so something that I grew up believing was that I am not an artist. I grew up believing that I'm really good at business or math or, you know, just linear analytical thinking, but artistry, that's my brother, that's my sister. I'm not an artist. And recently, I don't know if it was an ayahuasca ceremony, maybe it was a psilocybin journey, but I was taking a reflection on my life and recognizing that I have literally a film crew that follows me around, and we create this show, The Art of Choosing Love. I have a spoken word poetry show that tours internationally called Permission to Think Freely, music album, like all these things. And I went, holy shit, I'm creating art for a living. I'm an artist. And the cool thing is, falling into that category of artistry, I was able to have this lens of how did I get here and start to reverse engineer. Say, let me take a look at how I got to this place and what I believed about art. Because I believe that art is the translation of your creative energy into tangible form. I'm going to say that one more time. I believe that art is the translation of creative energy into tangible form. And so for any of you who have ever expressed a single word that you were not reading from someone else's writing, you are an artist. That is your creation into tangible form in the form of sound waves. That is art. And so the expression of your art might look like leading whatever's happening over here. It might look like a show. It might look like music. It might look like developing an app. It might look like business structure. It might look however you want it to look. There's an art to it if it's your creative expression. And I believe also that creativity is the unique expression of your soul signature. Your creative energy is your soul's fingerprint. It's the reason why this thing is like electrocuting me every time it touches my face. Your creative energy is your soul's fingerprint. If I gave every single one of you the exact same idea, the same concept, and said express that into art, into tangible form, whether that be a poem or a song or a business, it would come through each of you entirely unique. And so the issues that we're facing on the planet today, right? Can we agree that there's some issues on the planet we'd like to see resolved? To resolve some of those, the reason why I feel so much of that has come into the planet is because so many people on this planet feel like they need to fit into a box in order to fit into society. Thank you, Matthew, for proving that's not true. I believe that nature, there's a symbiotic perfection to nature. And one of the biggest, greatest disconnects that human beings have right now is thinking that nature is somewhere else. That you go into nature. And that creates a disconnect from recognizing that we are nature. We are just as much nature as the trees around us and the ground below us. So inherent in us is a symbiotic perfection if we choose to express that through us. So, how do we do that, right? How do we find that symbiotic perfection? I believe we do that by stepping into the expression of your unique soul signature. If everyone was following their highest excitement, their highest joy, expressing their creativity through them, what would happen on this planet, in my belief, is that there would be people who want to clean up. Right? Pick up the garbage, clean homes, janitorial work. There would be people who want to be visionary artists. There would be people who have the business infrastructure ideas. That's their highest excitement. And we would fall into this beautiful symphony of creative expression that would lead to balance the way that we see it in nature. Because the worker ant or the worker bee wakes up and says, this is what I am, this is my expression, and falls into that and creates this symbiosis. But what happens is we're born into this world, and from the moment that we're told, be quiet, stop singing, where the adults are having a conversation. For me, the moment that I was molested at the age of 5 and shut down, deciding, oh, it's not safe to express myself, don't be the object of attention, specifically sexual desire, we start to take on these beliefs that close us down and shut us off to our fullest expression. And then we see advertisements, 10,000 plus a day, that tell us, hey, you want to be happy, buy this thing, do this thing, look this way, talk this way. And so we start to say, oh, that doesn't feel great, but let me try that. And we start diverting. And what happens is every 1 degree that we go away from our purest expression of our creative energy, our unique soul's imprint, we wind up over here expressing ourselves in a way that is entirely removed from what we came in being the puzzle piece that helps us find the symbiotic perfection. Is everyone following me on this? Thank you. And so, as someone who has gone for most of my life thinking that I'm not the creative type, that I'm not an artist, to arrive at this space, developing this idea that art is a technology. Art is literally a technology that bypasses the defense mechanisms of the logical mind. Everything I'm saying right now that you're receiving, there's a part of your brain that's deciding whether or not you resonate with that. Maybe that's true, okay. If I say enough things that you agree with, you might actually open up your heart and say, okay, now I trust him. I trust what he says. I'm gonna look up his content online, whatever it is. But there's still a defense mechanism of the logical mind protecting the heart. And yet when we walk into a Deadova set, to receive art, we're going to have an emotional experience. When we walk into a movie theater, we're saying, I'm here to feel something. I've never walked into a movie saying, wow, I really hope to have a deep intellectual processing during this movie. It's like, I want to feel something here. I turn on my favorite music because I want to feel something. Art is a technology that allows us to bypass the logical defense mechanisms of the mind. And for those of you who have been deep in personal development work, we recognize that in order to heal, we get to feel. Deep programming happens at an emotional level. It gets imprinted into that limbic brain, instinctual, reptilian, gut instinct. And so, if we want to rewire the patterns that lie as like this instinct, it gets to happen at that emotional level. Feeling gets to be a part of it. And so if feeling gets to be a part of reprogramming and releasing some of these ideas that have taken us away from expressing our truest soul signature, art is that technology, and that is why it is so important. And I travel the world talking about how you are all artists. Every single one of you is an artist. And the role of the artist is to feel it all so deeply and translate it into something that spreads that to other people. Has anyone seen the paintings that are here? Has anyone gone and seen those? If you haven't seen them, I encourage you to go look at the art that's here. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I walk through there and I can feel myself feeling expanded. I can feel myself have tears well up in my eyes at different points. Like I can feel myself feeling as a result of someone's art. And that's powerful because the greatest enemy, if there is one that we're facing on this planet, is apathy. We can work with anger. The people who are marching on the streets, I don't care if they're marching pro-Trump, anti-Trump, I don't care what they're marching for, they're marching. That's energy in motion. That can be used. That can be harnessed. That can be pointed in directions that help bring a prosperous world for everyone. But once we hit the state of apathy, people shut down. And so to avoid apathy, we get to encourage people to continue to feel, to continue to open their hearts. And we do that through art. We do that through art. And so real quickly, because I have 5 minutes left, thank you. I want to give you I have a program online. It's called Unlock Your Inner Artist. I want to give you the 4-step process that I use to create and why I create in this way. I've expressed my belief around art. I believe that art, creativity, the creative expression, that process. I believe in infinite potential. I believe in infinite realities. That's something I believe, and I base that off of also, the scientific nature of the fact that like all of this feels solid and yet most of it's empty space. It's potential, okay? If you looked at an atom under a microscope and you blew it up into the size of an orange, the next nearest atom would be 2 football fields away. That's how much space, that's how much potential exists right here in the solid matter that we see around us. And we look at things like the double slit observer experiment, and we see things like our consciousness actually being what collapses potential into form. And I'm happy to geek out on all this stuff with you if anyone's interested later. Point is, what we believe in the study of epigenetics, what we believe informs our reality, and our reality informs what we believe. It's a feedback loop. And so there's a reality in which, who has a big vision for their life? Let me see a show of hands. Who has a big vision for your life? Amazing. For those of you who didn't raise your hand, I encourage you to start either participating. That'll help you achieve your big vision. Just participating in life, you're here. And if you didn't raise your hand because you don't have a big vision, come and talk to me because I'd love to support you in having one. Secondly, that big vision you have, there's a reality in which that never manifests. There's a reality in which it manifests so far beyond anything you could envision. There's a reality where it shows up exactly as you see it. There's everything in between. Those realities exist. What determines what reality you're on is the frequency you're holding. Human beings are radio transmitters. We are receivers of frequency and we are transmitting frequency. Every word that I'm speaking to you, everything that's coming through, because I have not rehearsed this, everything that's coming through is coming through based on the frequency that I am holding right now. And there's a frequency that exists of my big vision in an even greater potential where the things I'm saying might be completely different to you. And so when we recognize there's a potential reality of your greatest vision that exists out there, your role as the artist to express that out into the world is simply becoming a frequency match to that reality. And so the process of creating art, the expression of your creative energy into tangible form, that process, to me, I use a metaphor of a garden hose. We are funneling creative energy, the water, through us. So you have a seed, a creative idea, a seed that's there that you want to water. You take the hose out. The first thing you get to do is unkink the hose. That's step one. Anyone who, remember being a kid even where you like kink up that hose and no water comes out. That's the equivalent of wanting to funnel this idea through you, but being so full of limitation, doubt, fear, that it doesn't even have the opportunity to pass through you. It's shut down before it even begins to flow. Because your role there is recognizing that creative energy as it flows through you. If you have rusty pipes of doubt and fear and insecurity, it's gonna pick up all that shit on the way out. The final expression of your idea will hold the frequency of who you were at the time you created it. And so you have an opportunity to recognize that and work, personal development work, whatever we want to call it, to be in that space of believing in your vision with as little density of fear and insecurity as possible during the process. And also recognize the perfection of the process itself will help with that. The second step after we unkink that hose is connecting to the tap, connecting to the source. And that's in learning how to attune yourself to the frequency of that vision. And there's a lot of ways to do that. The mainstream version of that is The Secret, vision boards and that sort of thing, but there's a lot of ways to do that. But making sure that you can actually feel in your system your highest vision actualized. What does that feel like? Because I know for myself, when we go into every new episode of The Art of Choosing Love, we've done this thing where literally we spend days and days working on an episode, and it gets to a point where we watch it and we go, that's not it. And at that point, I can choose to step into, it's all fucked. Like, it's all fucked. But if I hold that in my body, then what actually it will pivot into will carry that energy. But if I go, oh, how amazing, we learned what didn't work, and there's some valuable nuggets in here, let me continue to hold that vision of releasing an episode that creates the greatest impact for people to continue to feel and be inspired. I'm gonna hold that. Now I'm the space for that divine inspiration, eureka moment to find me. I've connected to the tap. The third step is turn that shit up. Turn that shit up. You can have a little trickle of creative energy flowing through you, or you can have a waterfall flowing through you. How do you do that? That's in a combination of the input and the output. Meaning, what are you eating? What's the media you're consuming? If all you're doing is watching Fox News, and I don't want to be divisive of all, but if all you're doing is watching Fox News 24/7, that's your input, there's going to be a particular output that comes out of you. If all you're doing is eating processed foods and factory farmed meat, there's gonna be a particular output that comes out of you. If you're not stretching, when we think about stretching is a big part of my personal practice now, because I recognize that spirituality and physicality, they're layers of the same cake. This is an expression of my spiritual self. And so any limitation in my physical body is a limitation of the flow of spiritual energy. So becoming more limber is my practice of continually choosing to increase the flow that I'm a match for. So that's the third step. And the final step is spout it out, which looks like, how does it pass through you out into the world? How does it pass through you out into the world? At the end of that hose, you can use your thumb, you can put like a sprinkler on it or one of those gun nozzles. Like, there's gonna be a unique expression. I saw a gun nozzle that was shaped like a hippopotamus. Matthew, I think that would like be your vibe. And but there's a unique expression of that creative energy flowing through you and out into the world. What is unique about you? What is your story? What is your soul signature? Because the world is ready for your voice. We talked about that. This is the full circle moment. We talked about it at the beginning. Your voice is a necessary component of us finding a symbiotic perfection in nature. Any dimming of your light is preventing you from finding your place in this reality. So my encouragement, as Mark stands here and I energetically feel him trying to take it out of my hand. Can I, Mark? My encouragement to you, and I've tried to cover this very short talk here, the importance of art, the importance of seeing yourself as an artist, and the 4 steps that you can start to utilize to step into your artistry as an expression of your soul. And I would like to end with a poem. Many of you may have already heard it, but every time I've heard it more than all of you, and every time I hear it, it speaks to me. It's medicine for me. Because at the end of the day, your willingness to step into expressing yourself, your willingness to own your awesome, is an act of self-love. It's an act of saying, I am worthy of being my highest expression. And so this poem is called You Are Who You've Been Looking For. Can I have everyone take a collective breath in and out? You are who you've been looking for. So stop looking for more unless you're looking in a mirror, because it's about time for you to see clearly that you are who you've been looking for. And that empty feeling you got, that hole in your chest, you only got that feeling because you think you're not blessed with everything you need. You see, we live in a consumerist society, which means they need you to buy stuff. And the easiest way to sell it is to tell you you're not enough. Buy this car, you'll get girls. Buy this bra, you'll get guys. And we're seeing it so much that we start believing these lies. But the truth is, the makeup they're selling to make you feel prettier is the same makeup you buy to stop feeling shittier about this lie they keep telling you that you are not enough. And what about the movies we watch, all the shows on TV? The more I watch, the more I see I need you to complete me. Huh. And yes, love is the answer, love is the key, but if you can't love yourself, how can you ever love me? And loving yourself, what does that even mean? Like massages and selfies and that sort of thing? Because the more I think about it, the more it feels weird. I've always been taught that self-love was something to be feared. I've been taught that arrogance is bad and vanity, it's not good. And even my bracelets are telling me to act how Jesus would. So what should I do? How should I act? I'm supposed to love myself, but how do I even do that? Well, I got a trick that I picked up from a friend who noticed that I was quick to defend her when she would say something negative about herself. She'd say, I'm so dumb, and I'd say, you're so brilliant. She'd say, I'm so weak, and I'd say, you're so resilient. And when she said, I feel ugly, and I said, you look beautiful, she asked me why I was so dutifully filling up her cup constantly and yet treating my own cup so irresponsibly. Because when I looked in the mirror, my voice was quite clear. You're ugly, you're too thin, your hairline's receding, and you got a pimple on your chin. And that was when she gave me a piece of advice that changed my life. She gave me a hug, and she said, treat yourself like someone you love. Treat yourself like someone you love. Now, I had been standing, but I needed to be sitting because I couldn't believe that I had been letting myself keep forgetting that I was who I'd been looking for. And deep in my core, I knew it was time to stop looking for more until I could look through all my fear and look into a mirror and see clearly that the man looking back at me is the only one who can make me happy, and I am already enough. And I am not any more special or unique than you. That's why I'm here to speak to you. You are already enough. And when you start to see that, you will start to be that. Your world will get brighter, your load will get lighter, and you can see with life, you can be a lover, not a fighter. And that life, you deserve it. Because you are worth it. And there's no point in letting yourself keep forgetting, because no matter what you say or do, you are perfect. And so today, I hope I leave you with a direction correction away from the flaws you see in your reflection. They aren't flaws to me, they are simply protection against all the doubts you have of your perfection. So start today. Take a good, long look in the mirror and say, I am who I've been looking for.
Thank you, brother. Give it up for Adam Roa. Amazing artist. Love you, brother.